actually streaming live on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Facebook in my Interior Design Business Forum and my business page. So this is a hot topic. So once you start working with clients, this is often something that comes up. So this is for specifically for interior designers. Interior designers consistently struggle with the fact that occasionally their clients ask them for the price they paid for a product. So this is such a long topic, but I'm going to try to make it really clear and concise because you know that's what I like to do. Don't want to waste anybody's time. So if you're in a position where your client has asked to see the price you paid for your product, normally what happens when my clients call me with this, excuse me, I have a hair in my mouth, is I say, okay, what does your contract say? And once we work through what their contract says, we'll figure out how to make sure this doesn't happen again. In the meantime, though, you need an answer for the client. And I hear all kinds of, well, as per my contract, that is proprietary information coming out of my clients' mouths at times when they first start working with me. Quickly, we stop that. And what I advise them to do is to talk turkey with the client and actually say, that is information that is between me and my supplier, and I'm really not allowed to share that with you. And as I stated, hopefully in the beginning, I do my best to keep my prices at or under retail. But there are times where prices will change over time after I've sourced them for you, after I've purchased them for you. So what do you say to your client? You say, that is information that is between me and my supplier. And unfortunately, I'm not able to share that with you, but I've done my best to keep this at or under retail, as I stated in the beginning. Now, should you be one of the designers who is still telling in your contract or in your conversations with the client that I mock up my product that goes to you by 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever you might be stating in your contracts, this is something I do not approve of. This is something that I think all designers should take out of their contracts. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the minute you state that percentage in your contract, psychologically, that client, when they're upset about something that either you did or it's not your fault, but it's some, slowdown in the project, which happens. Interior design projects are long, they're complicated, there's emotional ups and downs throughout, and there are times where the client gets edgy. And when the client gets edgy, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to try to look at the interior designer and try to say, like, well, what are they? It must be them. It must be something they're doing. And they start nitpicking. And if your contract stated, I add a 20% markup or 30 or 40 or 50, which by the way is not what I teach, they are going to feel the right to audit you at any point. When you're that specific in your contract about the percentage you add, that gives the client the feeling that they have the right to look behind the scenes and look at your prices at any time. I mean, think about it. If you went into a restaurant and you had the right to say, wait, that steak is $25. Well, how much did you actually pay for it? You're, in essence, auditing that business. Does your landscaper come and when they put in bushes and trees and grass and sod, do you say, wait, let me see how much you paid for that? If you're one of those people, then that is probably why you could possibly be attracting that kind of person as a client. But if you're not one of those kinds of people, why do you let people treat you like that? So this is what I'm suggesting. Set yourself up for success right from the beginning. Make sure your contract doesn't say specifically what you're marking up, or some contracts say what you're marking down from retail. Instead, take out those sentences completely. And you can just add that you have agreed to purchase product through me. And verbally, you can say, I do my best to keep it at or under retail. But to put that in your contract, you're now giving them the right to audit you. Does that make sense to everyone? So I want you to think about that. Your You don't ask your landscaper. You don't ask your plumber. You don't ask any restaurant or clothing store, how much did you pay? And I know you've all heard this argument before, but let's take it one step further. The goal is to never let it get to that point. And how do you do that? You make sure your contract does not specifically say how much you're marking up or down on product, just that they have agreed to purchase through you. You certainly try to get an investment level from them before you start purchasing. And you calculate how much of a profit you want in there, and you make sure you don't spend more than you're able to spend on furnishings. Then you also make the client understand, as soon as this starts coming up, that that is information that is privileged between you and the supplier, and it's part of your agreement with them. Yes, it's also called proprietary information, but the word proprietary does not always translate well to your end user, right? They're like, what does that mean? Like, what do I care? I want to know, right? They can get very testy about this. So the other thing I wanted to remind people is never do this by text. I don't even want you doing it by email. When you're talking price or when someone is upset, the last thing you want to do is go through this via text or via email or in writing of any kind. People are much bolder behind a keyboard. So I want to give you, as the interior designer, the ability to give your points verbally. So either in person or over the phone. Please don't hide behind writing, okay? And the other thing is, don't negotiate. Don't negotiate your rates with somebody. I do my best to keep my prices that are passed through to you at or under retail. There are times, though, after we order, it could come out on sale somewhere. It's not something I can predict. And make sure you're very clear in your contract as to whether something is returnable, if there's a restocking fee, if it's custom or not custom. What are your policies? So you want to make sure you are verbally telling the client that, as well as having that in writing, so that you don't end up being in a position. I had a designer once who stated, before she hired me, stated in her contract how much she marked up her product. It backfired on her, unfortunately. And I've had more than one. This is just the one that I'm thinking of. She literally changed the price of a tile minimally because she actually didn't want her client to think it was such a cheap tile, because she found a beautiful tile for a really great price. And if she added only the percentage she had stated in her contract, it almost would have stood out like a sore thumb to the client that it was too inexpensive and make them feel like it was too inexpensive of a tile to use in their beautiful bathroom. So she just added a little bit more. Now she was in a position months later where her client was upset. I don't remember if he was a lawyer or whether he had just lawyer ways. And she was really uncomfortable because she knew that if once he looks down the list, he's going to see that just that one tile, she didn't exactly match her contract with her margin. And I'm like, why are you telling the client what your markup is? So the topic is, what do you do when your client asks to see your price that you paid for your client? And the goal is to never let it get to that point. Right? If you're just coming on now, go back and listen to what I said. But if they do, you want to be able to, in person or over the phone, not via text, not via email, say to them that is privileged information between me and my supplier and is not something that I share. If you can do that because your contract is written properly without mention of how much you mark up or down from retail, you should have no issues with that. There will always be pain in the, you know what, clients, and they have the right to ask. That's the other thing, right? That you're going to consider them a pain in the neck, but at the same time, people have the right to ask about the money they spend, and you just want to be prepared with the right answer to always look like the professional. So I am hoping this helps someone today. This and so much more information in my membership site. So if you're interested, hop over to nancyganzikoffer.com and check out all that I have to offer there. If you're struggling with growing your interior design business, get on my calendar for a consult and let's get you going in the right direction. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.